Hello and welcome to Let's Talk. My guest is Jonny Clark, the National Director for YWAM in Ireland. And in this episode, he talks about listening to God within and how he became a youth with a mission. I came here in 1984, but in 1988 my wife was pregnant. We'd just had the events in Malta. There'd been all kinds of clashes in West Belfast where I was living at that point, and I was actually advised by people from different parts of the community it's best if as an Englishman left. So I went to Norwich. But in the moments of being in, something very profound, I went and put clothes pegs. I was hanging some washing on the line in Norwich. And I went, there's something odd. And I couldn't hear any explosions, I couldn't hear gunshots. And I thought, we have to go back. Was that profound for you, that you felt that you needed to give back here? Or
Yeah, I suppose, it was a sense of, and of course people who have different perspectives on faith understand the voice of God in a different way. For me, it's a deep sense of internal compulsion. I really, at that time, as a 19-year-old, didn't want to go back to university. I'd done a year at Queen's. I didn't really want to return. I wanted to go and save the world. I could have happily moved to South Africa, Madagascar. I spent 2 months there, India, wherever. I would have gone anywhere. I really didn't particularly want to stay here at that time. But through that year of that journey in South Africa, of seeing the brokenness of South Africa, but of how the hope that was there, and then that conversation in a taxi in Mumbai, and there was this growing urge to kind of come back, and I can't really describe it, and much more than that sense of an internal sense of this is what I'm meant to do, this is what I'm meant to do, and of course you're 19, you're idealistic, you're really looking for a reason for living, and that became my kind of cause, which in a sense is kind of what I'm still living out to this day,
You came back to Northern Ireland. What year was this, roughly?
So it was 95, I spent it in South Africa. I came back just before Christmas, I think 95, 96. So basically I came back into 96. So the
troubles were still...
Yeah, so we were in the middle of the two-piece ceasefires. So the first ceasefire was in 94, shortly before I went to South Africa. Then, of course, to everyone's dismay, that ceasefire broke down and bombing started and the real IRA emerged and dissident Republican movements, and there was a time of tension because there was obviously peace negotiations going on, but there was also dissidents kind of saying, no, we don't want peace, and it was which way is it going to go? And of course, that's on the Republican side. On the unionist, loyalist, Protestant side was also there was their own kind of issues of back and forth, and there were tit-for-tat murders at that time. Horrible killings were done in between those two ceasefires, and we're so. I think we take it for granted what the 1998 Good Friday Agreement did for us. That we just do not have almost any more the story on the news of a taxi driver who's just been shot in the head.
Well, we made a film in 2005. We actually filmed it. And it was in Malabon. No, it wasn't anything to do with the Troubles, although we had a little scene to do with some paramilitaries. But during that filming, the loyalists actually said that they were going to destroy their guns. So you had the 1998 sort of Good Friday Agreement, and it's 7 years later before really the Troubles kind of technically finished. So in 1995 you came back. What did you find yourself? What was the journey? What did you try to explore to get doing what you felt God was calling you?
Yeah, well, I was still young. I think I expected everything to fall into place as a 20-year-old, that I would come back and be welcomed back and kind of, please, Jonny, come and help us change the world. And of course, I kind of grew up a bit, I ended up going back to university. So I finished my history degree, which I didn't really want to do, but I felt like I couldn't think of anything better to do. I was involved in my local church in East Belfast. But it was during that time that I really felt, actually, all my friends were graduating as, doctors and lawyers, and, we joke about it with them that I was a history graduate, and well, if you're a history graduate, your options are a bit more limited. So, I just felt like I wanted to go into the same kind of vocation my parents had, as been working as a mission worker with Youth with a Mission, which was a kind of I guess I call it a tribe, a family that I resonated with. It was my spiritual home. Youth with a Mission, in reality, when I look at it now with a lot of perspective, has faults and flaws like any Christian grouping, but there was something about it that was about family. It was about simplicity. We kind of lived without wages. I still live in that way. There's a kind of sense of shared living, community living, and for me, again, as an idealistic early 20-something Gen Xer, postmodern guy, I wanted that. I wanted community living. I wanted to do something hard. Probably if someone had offered me a cushy job with lots of money, I would have turned it down because I didn't want that. I felt like I wanted something challenging, I guess now. So what I ended up doing is joining our Youth with a Mission team in Banbridge at the time, which I had no real desire to go to Banbridge, but it was good for my learning. I had spent time as a kid in Coleraine, 6 years up in Coleraine on the north coast, in Upperlands, where my forebears are from, right in the middle of Northern Ireland. And then in Belfast, East Belfast, and then Banbridge. And then in 2001, I moved back to Belfast to kind of really start a Christian community in the Shankill Road and the Falls Road. And that was where I spent 8 years. I got married soon after that to my wife, Jen. And we spent 8 years living and working in the Shankill and the Falls in particular. At different times, we were renting 7 or 8 houses on both sides of the wall. We were using a church hall to run our training course, and another youth center to do kids work and youth work, and it was a crazy time. It was a time when Johnny Adair was kind of running mad in the Lower Shankill. There had been a feud between the Lower and the Mid Shankill, which is UDA UVF. So that's an internal feud among Protestant loyalists. But forget about the Catholics at this point; they're just fighting among themselves.
More on the way, so please subscribe to this channel and check out the link below if you'd consider becoming a patron to help us keep making more content. Thanks for watching.